Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Dallas Daily Show, coming at you from the Neighborhood Loan Studio here in St. Louis, Missouri. We are still in the family reunion this week. Today's episode is Laughing Around the Family Table. All right, let's get into it. So this week, I'm celebrating the fact that my brother and his wife, Denny and Shelly, were able to come into town. We were able to connect with my other sister, Dawn. She was able to fly up from Florida and be with us as well as Deidre and Paul, my other sister, and David and his wife, Cammie. So all under one roof with my mom and dad, Dennis and Patty. Then it was all five kids, Dawn and Denny and Deidre and David and Dallas. And if you weren't paying attention there, that is a heck of a lot of D's in there. Dennis Sr., my mom, Patty, poor, she got the P out of the group. And then we've got Dawn, Denny, Dennis Jr. So Dennis, Patty, Dawn, Denny, Deidre, David, Dallas. And when I was growing up, it definitely was one of those moments where when my parents wanted to call to a kid, it was like, Deidre, Dawn, David, you know who you are? Get down here. You know, it was that sort of thing. Of course, they never had to yell my name because I was perfect. And I think that's what they say about the youngest in the family is the reason you're the baby of the family is it took that many tries for your parents to get it right. So apparently the formula is good now. So, at the end of our photo shoot, I talked about the photo shoot yesterday, family reunion. We did the photo shoot. We went back, hung out with mom and dad, and we had lunch together and dinner together. And in between, we played card games. Our family loves to sit around and play pinochle. We also played a game. I'm forgetting the name of it. It's called Fishbowl or something. Everybody writes down like 3 nouns or phrases or something. Everybody puts them into a thing, and round 1 is charades, round 1 is descriptions, round 2 is charades, round 3 is a sound, etc. We got to play this fun little game. And we spent hours together, and it was pure bliss. It was amazing. Everybody was warm, and there wasn't like this, like any awkward, dynamics of people who hadn't been together. And I know I've kind of talked about that all week, but I think for me, it was a real celebration of relationships. And I think too often, I mentioned this, it might have been yesterday's episode, I mentioned this idea of we're moving so quickly through our worlds that we hardly ever stop. And then also, our family is a fascinating family because we have a lot of high achieving types. We have a lot of type A personalities in the crew. And so sometimes when that group gets together, the other thing too is sometimes our humor goes from comedic to snarky and caustic. And so as we were growing up, obviously that was a big part of it, was who can outshine the other and who's the funniest one. But none of that took place this time. It was win-win all the way. I loved being around the table, and there was a point that happened specifically where we're all sitting there, and mom and dad are by each other at the table, and there's Deidre and Paul and Denny and Shelly, and we celebrated Shelly's birthday as well, and Dawn was there, and my wife was there, and David and Cammie, and I just paused and I just watched for a little bit, and I saw everyone taking it in. And it was really lovely. It was really beautiful. We were all just kind of laughing. The conversation was going, the stories, a little bit of one-upsmanship in the comedic level between me and David and Denny, like who's going to be the funniest. My sons tell me it's Denny. My sons made no bones about, Dad, your brother's way funnier than you. Oh, thanks, honey. You're grounded. But I took several moments, and there was one moment, and I was just sitting there and smiling, and my wife kind of put her hand on my knee and did a little, tap. She's like, hey, you okay? And I said, I'm loving this. And when I mentioned on Monday's episode of like when we first got there, some old stories and some old scripts came up in me. By the time we got to that time on the boat, a couple of days later, I just was like, man, this is my crew. And I think so often, because of the way life moves us, and because of the miles that come between us, we forget who our original crew was. And sometimes there's pain, right? Sometimes there's trauma. I don't know what your family relationships were like. There's definitely, people wound each other on their way to developing into the person they're supposed to become. But I think if we can start to look on the people in our lives and the people who've come through our lives with a sense of gratitude, even if there was a bitterness in a relationship, not saying that is the case with our family, but even if there's a broken relationship, if there's an old friend, sometimes what we can do is we can look back on that memory and say, ugh, I hated that time in my life, or God, they were the worst. Why? I hated that they were in my life, right? I think when we do that, we do a disservice to the story that's being written with us and for us. Gratitude is the higher attitude. Gratitude puts us in a different frequency. Gratitude for everywhere I've been, everywhere I've gone, everywhere I'm going. The entire journey. And sometimes it just takes sitting back, smiling around the table, taking it all in, and saying, no, you know what? I'm grateful. Where in your life do you need to go back in an old memory and just say, thank you for that. Thank you to God, right? Thank you, God, that you put that person in my life. Thank you that those people were here. I'm so happy and grateful that that person taught me X, Y, Z, whatever it might be. I think it's really important. I don't think we spend enough time in gratitude. And I'm really grateful for my brothers, my sisters, the siblings and their husbands and wives, right? I'm grateful for my parents. I'm grateful for the life that I get to live now and the life that is coming into being in the future version of me. So that's it. Just be grateful. Find a place of gratitude in your life. Thank you for listening to this show, my friends. I'm grateful for you, the listener. Let's go out there and have a championship day.
Thanks for listening to my dad's podcast. For more tools, go to dallasdailyshow.com. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.